Hi yogis, and welcome to today's yoga flow. This is a full moon yoga flow. A lot of the times we think about the full moon as kind of making us feel crazy or lazy or any of that stuff. But the full moon is really an opportunity for us to reset and restart. It's a chance for new beginnings. So this flow is all about resetting, restarting, getting our energy back in line, and preparing us for the next month ahead. So we are actually going to need a block for today's practice. So I have a block here handy. If you don't have any blocks at home, you can use a sturdy book or a heavy-duty water bottle, anything that you can really put some pressure down on with your hands. And once you have your block handy and ready for your practice, we are going to go ahead and come to lie on our backs. So just gently lowering down onto your back and just take a moment to settle in here. You can close the eyes if it feels good. We can start with our eyes closed or whatever feels right, and just beginning to take some deep breaths, inhaling through the nose and exhaling through the nose. Perhaps even beginning our Ujjayi breath with a slight constriction in the throat, making a little bit of a Darth Vader sound as we inhale and exhale. And on your next inhale, hug your knees into your chest so you can grab behind the thighs or on the shins, whatever feels good. Keeping the neck long, shoulders down on the mat, hugging the knees in. Maybe you rock from side to side. Give the low back a little bit of a massage here. And if it feels good, you can invite your nose to your knees by lifting your head up. And then slowly and gently exhale, releasing the head back onto the mat. And bringing the soles of the feet as wide as your mat onto the floor. And just windshield wipering your knees from side to side. So really gentle twists here. I like to have my hands on my belly, but they can be alongside your body too. Just going with what feels comfortable. And then bringing the feet in, hip distance apart, bringing the heels in towards the glute. Hands come alongside the body, palms down, and we'll gently rise on our inhale, lifting the hips. Coming into a gentle bridge here. And then exhale, slowly lower the hips down. And again, on our inhale, lifting the hips up, keeping the knees in line with the hips. Almost imagining like you're clamping a beach ball or your block in between your thighs. And exhale, release the hips down. And one more time, lifting the hips up, pressing down through the feet, staying firm in your legs. And then exhale, release the hips down. Bring the knees back into the chest, hug them in one more time. Again, you can rock and roll, rock from side to side, whatever feels good. And then you can gently rock and roll, or you can roll onto one side and come up into a tabletop. So onto hands and knees. So wrists are under the shoulders, knees are under the hips. Tops of the feet can be on the mat or curled, whatever feels comfortable. And we're just going to move through some really gentle cat-cows here. So dropping the belly, lifting the chest and chin, coming into cow pose. Exhale, round the back. Navel draws in towards the spine, chin to chest, cat pose. Inhale, dropping the belly, lifting the chest. Exhale, around the back. Continue to move at your own breath. If you're feeling pressure in your knees here, you can also put a blanket underneath your knees just to make it a little bit softer. Or you can even just fold your mat a little bit. Come like this. And if you're feeling pressure in your wrist, you can come up onto fists and keep moving through. Just make it as comfortable as feels good for you. Always listening to our bodies as we practice. And when you're ready, we'll come back to a neutral spine. And we'll extend the right leg out, keeping the toes on the floor. So reaching and pressing back through the heel. And then on our inhale, lifting the left arm up as we twist. So we come into this twisting table. So fingertips are reaching towards the ceiling. Left fingertips are reaching towards the ceiling. Right heel is pressing back. And then exhale the hand down. Bring the right knee back in. And then pivot on that right knee. Pivot the toes off the mat. And we'll come into a kneeling side plank. So your left leg is out long, pressing through the knife edge of the back foot, reaching up through the left fingertips. And then on our next inhale, we'll lift the left leg up, keeping the foot flexed as we come into a kneeling half moon. Hold here for a few breaths. Find space and strength. Your gaze can be forward, or you can even test your balance and look up towards your fingertips. And then exhale, release the left foot gently down. And then on your inhale, reaching up through the left fingertips, rising up, bringing the left hand onto the left thigh, and right arm rises up and over, feeling a really good stretch in the side body, in the right side body. Exhale, release the right hand down. Left hand, left knee comes down, coming back into our table. Again, you can keep your knees on that fold of your mat, and then just move through some cat-cows again. Going at your own pace, finding your breath. Coming back to a neutral spine, the left leg extends out, toes on the floor, pressing through the back heel. We'll come into that twisting table on the opposite side, so the right arm will lift up, fingertips towards the ceiling. Reaching. Then exhale the right hand down, bring the left knee in, pivot the left toes off the mat as we come into a side plank on the other side. So right leg is reaching, knife edge of the right foot is pressing down, reaching up through the right fingertips. You can look up at the fingertips, or you can look straight ahead. Whatever feels good on your neck, on your shoulder. And on your next inhale, lifting the right leg up as we come into a kneeling half moon. Keeping the right foot flexed, pushing through the heel. Exhale, release the right leg down. And on our next inhale, reaching up through the fingertips. Coming into gate pose on the opposite side. Right arm comes down the right leg. Left arm reaches up and over. We find a side stretch on the other side. Exhale, release both hands down. Bring your right knee down, come back into your table. And then just a few more cat-cows here. I'm going to straighten out my mat now because I won't need it for my knees, and you might find that you do the same. Or if you're using a blanket, you can remove the blanket now. And when you're ready, we'll press up into our first downward dog of the day. So keeping a generous bend in the knees, walking the heels out, finding length from the base of our spine through our neck, maybe nodding the head, yes and no, keeping the neck relaxed. Fingers are spread wide. And when you're ready, right foot steps forward, left toes pivot to 45 degrees, and then we rise up as we come into a warrior one. So the front knee is bent, knee is over ankle, shoulders are relaxed, palms are facing each other, gaze is soft, fingers are bright. Take a breath. Opening up into warrior two. So back foot pivots to 90 degrees. The pinky side of the foot is in line with the back of your mat, reaching through the fingertips. Gaze is over the middle finger of the front hand. Straightening the front leg, reaching forward with our right fingertips, and then coming down onto the shin, coming into triangle pose. So hand can be here on the shin. You can move it towards the floor. You can even use your block. Whatever variation feels comfortable. Just keeping the shoulders in line and almost feeling like you're pressed up against a wall. So as if you were practicing this up against a wall. You can bring your hand here onto your hip too if you're protecting your shoulders. Pressing through the back edge of your back foot. Finding a really nice stretch here. Inhale, rise up, warrior two. Exhale, windmill the hands down. Step the right foot back, come into down dog. And we'll do this on the other side. So left foot steps forward, right toes pivot 45 degrees as we rise up into warrior one. Keeping a slight bend in the back knee, micro bend. Relaxing the shoulders, relaxing the jaw. Reaching up through the fingertips. And then opening up into warrior two. The front knee is tracking towards the middle toes. Shoulders are relaxed and down. Really pressing down through the feet, lifting up through the torso, and reaching through the fingertips. Straighten the front leg, reach through with the left fingertips, and then coming down into triangle. Keeping a micro bend in that front knee. And again, you can bring that hand here onto the hip. Finding the fit of this pose that works for your body. So yoga is not about, fitting your body into a pose. It's about making the pose fit your body. So always looking for that variation that feels right and good for you. Inhale, rise up, coming into warrior two. Windmill the arms down, hands onto the mat, step back, down dog. Take a moment to breathe here. You can always come into child's pose, whatever you need. Right foot steps forward. As we come into a low lunge, knee is lifted. And then we'll rise up into our high lunge. So pressing back through the right heel, arms are up. Keeping a slight bend in the back leg. Bring your hands to your hips, and then we'll come into pyramid pose. So I always like to bring my foot forward a little bit to shorten the distance between my front leg and my back leg. And then imagine your feet are on railroad tracks. So toes are both pointing forward, the back heels are down. The back heel is down, you only have one, right? Hands on hips, and then gently begin to hinge at the hips as you come over the front leg. You might be here. You can bring your hands onto your shin, or perhaps even onto the mat. You can use a block here as well, if that feels good. But feeling a deep stretch through that front leg. Keeping the hips, both hips, pointing forward. And now is a good time to grab your block, place it here in front of your right foot, probably about 6 inches, and then begin to transfer the weight onto that front leg as you lift the left leg up. We're coming into half moon. And so hips are opening, stacking one on top of the other, shoulders stack, finding balance. Exhale, release the left foot down to meet the right. Come into a forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Hands on shins, flat back. Crown of the head is pointing forward. Exhale, hands down. Step back, downward facing dog. Take a moment to breathe here. Perhaps you take a child's pose. On your next inhale, left foot steps forward, coming into that low lunge. Find your position here, and when you feel ready, rising up into a high lunge. Gaze is forward, pressing through the back heel. Knee is over the ankle, but not past the ankle. It can be a little bit behind, but not past. And when you're ready, bringing your hands onto the hips. And again, perhaps shortening that distance between your front leg and your back leg as you come into the prep for pyramid pose. So toes are on railroad tracks, feet are on railroad tracks. And then slowly hinging at the hips as you come forward. Keeping a micro bend in that front knee, so you don't want to hyperextend that knee to find that stretch. You can bend it as little or as much as you want. Taking a few breaths here, feeling a deep stretch in that front leg. And when you're ready, grab your block, place it about 6 inches in front of your toe, and then begin to shift that weight into the front foot as you lift the back leg and begin to come into half moon on the other side. And you might fall out, but just come back in, rejoin us. This is practice. This is not perfection. Exhaling, release the right leg down. Coming into forward fold. Inhale, halfway lift. Crown of the head comes forward. Exhale, forward fold, planting the hands, stepping back into downward facing dog. Exhale, releasing down onto the knees. You can move your block out of the way now. And then lowering down onto your belly. So tops of the feet are on the mat, arms are behind you, and you can just rest on one cheek here. And on your next inhale, lifting one leg and then the other, pressing the pelvis into the floor, just testing, seeing how the low back feels. And exhale, release. And if your low back feels okay with lifting the legs, on our next inhale, lifting the head and the upper body, as well as the legs, reaching through the fingertips, all the way to the back of the mat. Gaze is about 6 inches ahead of you. Here in locust pose. Exhale, release onto the other side of your face. Take a breath. On your next inhale, legs rise, arms rise, chest rise. Strengthening the back. Reaching through the fingertips and the toes. Exhale, release. Bring the hands alongside the chest, elbows in, tuck the toes under, press up onto the knees, and then back into child's pose. So reaching the fingertips forward, inviting the forehead towards the mat. You can always use your block here, under your forehead, or between your heels and your seat, wherever you feel that you need to make that connection. The block can help you, or even the blanket. On your next inhale, rise up. And then swing your feet out in front of you. And grab your block. We'll need it one more time. And we'll slowly lower down. Bringing the heels hip distance apart in towards our glute. Arms are alongside of us. We'll grab our block and we'll come into a bridge pose, but a supported bridge pose. So I like to use the block this way with the long edges side to side. You might find that you like it a little bit taller. You might find you only like it nice and flat. So you can play around with the height of the block, but essentially what you'll do is you'll take the block and place it right at your tailbone and just kind of relax into a bridge pose here. So find that variation, that position of the block that feels good. And even though we're relaxing here, still maintaining that alignment of our knees and our hips. So making sure our knees are not going out to the sides, but are staying right in line. Keeping the shoulders on the mat. Keeping the jaw relaxed. Taking a few breaths. Feeling an opening in our chest. And when you feel ready, remove the block from underneath. And then hug the knees into the chest. Again, rock side to side maybe. And we'll come into our final posture before Shavasana, happy baby. So grabbing the outsides of the feet, inviting the knees towards the elbows or the armpits, soles of the feet pressed up towards the sky. Shoulders are down and relaxed. You might find some movement here, rocking side to side. Maybe you extend the legs for a little bit more flexibility, for more stability, staying here. The back of the neck is long. Gently release your happy baby, extending the legs out long, bringing the arms alongside the body, palms up. Closing the eyes, relaxing the body, and settling into these last few moments of our practice together. Allowing your body to soak up all of the benefits of your practice, to help you reset and recharge, resting here in Shavasana. As you feel ready, begin to invite some movement back into your fingers and your toes. Perhaps stretching the arms up overhead, getting a good morning stretch. And then rolling onto one side. And then coming up into our cross-legged position on our mat. Hands are at the heart. Thank you so much for sharing your practice with me today and sharing your time. The light in me honors the light in you. Namaste.